Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with the first ever Snowflake Roundtable. I've been told off because there is no roundtable literally here. But there is one. It's right next to me, guys. I promise you. There is one right next to me.
Table. And where's the sword in the rock?
Well, Pagan's got the sword. He's got the sword. He's got the sword. So don't worry about the swords and the shield. We got weapons there if we need them. But welcome to
Excalibur.
Yeah, he's our Excalibur. So welcome to our first Snowflake Roundtable, guys. How do I do the intro? Oh my god! So, oh my god, I'm starting. I'm terrible today, guys. I'm terrible. Let me introduce those who are around the table. To my right, top right of the screen here, is a YouTuber who I've had on here on my channel for quite a few times now already. It is One Angry Pagan. Anyone when it comes to one of the strongest of climate activists, reminding us about the sea level rises as well, and all things Pagan. He is your man, and link for his channel in the description. In the bottom right hand of the screen is a man who knows all about the committee hearings and knows when the speaker's not doing his job properly, because he will point it out to you, and does a much better job of interpreting the speaker when he's sitting in that chair whenever he does these videos. It is Daily Blasé. And then finally, in the right below me on the screen, guys, is not just a wonderful man. He does so many, has so many YouTube channels, and has an incredible creative mind. And when it comes to any kind of woodworking, even techno stuff, or even your garden specialist, it is AllShorts. Welcome, everybody. How are you all doing today?
Morning. My linguistics chip has melted.
All right, so I suppose we might as well just get the first. I mean, we'll just start with something that we really can't stop talking about, and that is the impact that Donald Trump is going to have, not just on the UK, but pretty much the world. I saw a story today, I think it was the last day or two, that one person, I think it was Matt Gaetz, who's basically being convicted. Well, he's basically being investigated for for having sex with an underage girl, and he could be in charge of the whole shebang. If I'm right in hearing, yeah, he could potentially be that, and it just like it's. And I've said this quite a few times, but it's not so much about not just Trump that I fear; it's the people around him, and the people around him are really, really scary.
While I was in business before, it's always the case. You're only as good as the people who got around you. So if they're worse than what Trump is, you know.
Yeah.
Did you hear he put as the head of the military?
Oh no! Who did
Fox.
he? Oh,
guy who used to lead Fox. He's put as he's put as military. Like what the actual fuck?
Everyone's got their up in arms about that one. Even Republicans. If it what the heck's going on?
Well, there is one good thing so far. We haven't heard. Who's that? Marjorie Taylor Greene hasn't been given a role yet. She hasn't been given a role yet. So maybe, just maybe, even Donald Trump can't tolerate her. I'm hoping.
She's too busy controlling the storms.
I think the best Twitter post I saw today was I've forgotten his name. Is it that Dahmer, that serial killer? That says Trump has put him in charge of food and rural affairs.
Yeah, that's right. Even Elon Musk, though, you know, he's losing a bit of ground because they're basically turning against him.
He's been going around like getting in all the pictures and stuff, and apparently, and this is, I only heard this on Vorsh's live stream, American leftist streamer, and apparently, like some of the Trump family are calling him Uncle Elon.
Oh God!
Like, I'm not kidding you. Like what? Why America? Why?
You know what? I really couldn't believe like I think what's quite really shocking is like the real exodus from Twitter. Like there's a real exodus of people leaving,
including myself.
Yeah. I just literally saw like a post on Blue Sky. Literally, I think it was today or yesterday. Like all the Swifties have moved over to Blue Sky. I don't know. I'm assuming Taylor Swift is there, and I haven't seen her pop up. And I just maybe it's because it's not.
And James O'Brien's getting more and more active on there, and he uses it as a reference source now on his program.
Yeah. Mike Galsworthy and many others are there. It won't be long before Robert Spear jumps over there as well, because that's where most people are going now, because many people feel that the platform is getting worse, or they do feel like the hatred and the despondence that they have on it.
It's not just about that for me, though. It's the fact any activity I do on there is going to potentially put money in Musk's pocket.
Yeah.
If you can get any advertising, that is. But you think like 3 weeks ago, I got a notification from Blue Sky saying, "Oh, congratulate us," sort of thing, because we've got our first 1 million subscribers. And then yesterday, I see they've got 15 million now in just a few weeks.
Yes, insane.
People signed up to Blue Sky.
For a second, actually, I actually thought that they that Elon Musk deleted the Blue Sky Twitter account because he was so because it was being highlighted all over his social media that it was the number one app.
He did, but then he reinstated it.
Because I remember typing it in and it wasn't coming up on my bar, so maybe during that period. But what do you make of it all, Darren? You haven't really spoken much about it, I suppose, and I don't blame you, to be fair.
Well, my wife, she deleted her Twitter account. She basically used it for any sort of like, if she saw any information, she said, "Have you seen this?" Or she'd use it for any information about Bradford City or other stuff like that. Or she'd get in contact with her local bus route. But she said, "I'm just sick to death of it." I says, it's just a horrible cesspit. She disconnected it. She disconnected her account, and I think I've had mine for about 10 years, and she's had hers longer than mine, and now she's gone up to Blue Sky. As I haven't done it yet, but I probably will do.
It's a much nicer place to be.
Is it?
Yeah, much nicer place to be. They haven't got the activity of Twitter, obviously, not yet, but they will do. I'll get there.
They will come over. Obviously I've got 2 accounts. I've got one for wrestling, one for news and politics. I don't use the politics one. I haven't used it enough, the news and politics one. But since I've jumped over, like there are so many features, and you have a lot more user control on Blue Sky, which is you really it will take a lot getting used to, but a lot of the features that Twitter has that you have there, but like the block features, like you can ban certain words from being that you can mute. You can not just block and ban people. Like there are certain words or certain block lists that you can kind of have on there,
like you do on YouTube.
That you can basically not pop up on your feeds at all. So if somebody like says like something xenophobia or whatever, or certain words or phrases that you don't want to hear, even if there's someone you're following, they won't appear on your timeline at all because you've chosen to block it, sort of thing, which is a nice feature. They also have something called a follow pack as well, where if you have a large following, you can put all the people that you want people to follow. That if you want people to follow people that you're following, or if you want a selected group of people to be followed, including yourself, you can do that as well, as opposed to this follow back thing, which everyone was always doing. Whereas on Blue Sky, they have this follow pack thing, and that's how I've already gotten over 1,000 followers through all the wrestling fans that have jumped over. That I know I've jumped over from Twitter to X. So it's a really good feature. It does take getting used to.
It's quite familiar though, isn't it? Visually, it's quite familiar.
Yeah, and it's a nice name too. And actually, it's a bit weird because you definitely have the Twitter vibes, because obviously it had the same colors as the original icon as well. So I don't know if that's something there. I will say though, I'll tell you one thing that's really, really funny, guys, is that the other social media, Mastodon or whatever the hell its name is, they were kicking off because nobody was jumping over from Twitter to them.
It's too complicated.
I've seen them moaning on Twitter, like saying like what's going on? Why are we not interested? Well, I was just like, I've got an account with them and I've used them, and you're shit basically.
Yeah, and I had a lot of login problems with them as well.
No.
So I'm on Facebook. The only apart from Discord and YouTube, like I've got a Facebook account. Like but then Facebook's a bit different because of my pagan interests. There are like the pagan groups aren't they you know, all the toxic stuff you get on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. You don't see that so much amongst the pagan groups. You really don't. Like it's more a case of just posting like nice pictures and cool poems and stuff.
There's a suggestion in the chat by Mad Monk. It's just a wee suggestion. If you want to make it look more like a round table, you could put a circular border around each of us.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd have to upgrade my StreamYard. I'm not ready to do that just yet. Yeah. I mean, maybe in the future I'll get the
not quite ready for the commitment.
Yeah. Maybe I could just put this icon of a round table right in the center of the screen.
With candles in the middle. You know, burning.
Candles in the middle. But just don't knock the candles over or start a fire.
But yeah, she's gonna. I only basically use it to find silly videos from a Friday Frolic, and I just leave it there.
Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, I still have the account, but I have a lot of fond memories on Twitter. So, like, unless Twitter actually goes, I'm not gonna delete it. I mean, I'm not gonna like. I didn't realize, but my blue tick renewed. Like about a couple of months ago, and I was like, oh shit, I was meant to just turn that off. So I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. I know people.
Some slobber for that.
Oh, I did get some people like saying, why have you got that fucking blue tick? Get rid of that fucking.
It's embarrassing.
I was just like, yeah. So
doesn't stand for anything, does it?
For years, that blue tick will be there, pride in place. Yes, I've got a blue tick on Twitter for one. Now nobody wants it.
I'll just tweet at Elon Musk. Can I refund my blue tick, please?
Yeah. Can I have that blue tick removed, please?
He's doing refunds. He doesn't believe in refunds.
No, he doesn't. To be fair,
well, he doesn't. Any legal cases now have to be heard in Texas, who are favourable to Elon Musk. So if you think you're going to take him to court for every reason, even slander or anything like that, well then you don't stand open hell.
Do you know what? A question that's occurred to me. You bring up Texas then, and then like one thing I've heard a lot of is that the demographic shift between California and Texas has been quite drastic on the young scale. I wonder, with all of this now, will that demographic shift back again?
I think if I'm honest, it's about what's going to happen. Like it's like I've seen it already. Like there was a piece from the Association Press today, like basically people screaming for their food prices to go down, their groceries to go down. Like they're already screaming for Trump to take action when he goes in.
What happened to? That happened to just, didn't it?
Yeah.
Is tariffs going to put the prices up for Americans?
But the thing is that it's they have to see how bad Trump is and realize it before they actually take action.
They've got to feel the pain.
They're going to have to feel the pain.
We were right in that this is America's Brexit moment.
Yeah,
that's exactly the term I was hearing.
Buyer's remorse. That's what they're going to have. Buyer's remorse. Give them a few weeks, and they're going to realise. Hang on. Especially when they realise that prices start going up and not down. Just end of the day, if you've got negative inflation, the prices aren't going to come down anyway.
We do have to take into account.
But I'm sure somebody said that Donald Trump is America's Liz Truss.
Trumponomics.
We do,
I think he'll last longer than 49 days, won't it?
We do have to take into account that America's culture is not Like we're similar, we speak roughly the same language, but the culture isn't entirely the same, is it? Really? I mean, we say that we do things like the same in the UK as we do in America, and well, we kind of don't. There are some really significant culture changes. I don't know if you guys watch Americans react to stuff in Britain videos on YouTube. I have quite a bit.
I've seen one or two, but I don't pay much notice to it because it's quite
enlightening because you find out what the average American thinks about Britain, and when they find out about our healthcare.
Hang on, Pagan. Are you saying we haven't got a special relationship? Is that what you're saying?
Special relationship.
We think we've got. We think we've got a special relationship, but the Americans don't.
That Al Murray got it right when he said that America is basically right. A good idea, a good experiment that's gotten out of hand.
Yes. Yeah.
I think if I'm honest, the experiment is when Trump goes in and the 4 years, that will be the experiment. And then people will look back on say, listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is not how you run a fucking country. This is not how you run an economy.
You just thought they learned that like from 2016 to 2020. But no. People rioting in the streets and Trump holding a Bible upside down wasn't bad enough.
Yeah,
Florida
I think Elon Musk is really planning to really sell some, because they're changing the what's the Department of Education name? They're changing it to Doe or something.
It's two separate things. That is, they're basically tearing apart the Department of Education.
Yeah,
and they're creating a Department of Governmental Efficiency, Doge, which is going to be headed up by Vivek Ramaswamy. And Elon fucking Musk. Which is dodgy fuck because Musk has government contracts, and which means American law might have to be changed for him to take that job.
He wants to get rid of a third of governmental spending, 30% of governmental spending. He wants to get rid of. They spend around $6 trillion at the moment, and he wants to get rid of 2.
Where are you going to find that? It's just
the thing is, but if you look at the breakdown of it, there's like a certain amount of it. It's quite a large amount goes to, let's say, pensions and stuff like that, which are by law, whoever's entitled, obviously. And then the other breakdowns as well. But the last bit is like the military, it's like healthcare, Medicare, all that sort of stuff. It's just that what can they do? You got to just let people die in the streets. Oh, I forgot, it's the United States.
I've heard they've gone on a massive recruiting drive for ICE officers, for more ICE officers.
Oh, don't you mean MAGA hats?
Yeah, basically. I mean, the problem is like the whole system's already saturated. Like Biden actually cracked down a hell of a lot. Like actually efficiently cracked down a hell of a lot on immigrants crossing the border. Not that I'm a major fan of the way he did it, because I don't like that kind of politics, but he did do it, and yet Trump is going to make that even worse.
He would have gone a step further if it wasn't for Trump, because Trump blocked that bill, didn't he, that went through. He stopped it, basically. It didn't get through the second house. Was it second house? Or was it,
it did actually have agreement amongst the majority of Republicans as well.
Yeah, it did. But Trump
there is actually something quite interesting, because there is this consensus of that perhaps maybe while the Supreme Court is in Trump's favor, there has been some questions about whether or not are they really just going to sit by and let the Trump administration dismantle everything. There is a possibility that they may not let Trump do everything that he possibly wants. Perhaps because of their rather than, while they are loyal to the Republican Party, they are loyal to Trump. Some of them may be as far as may not want to go against the Constitution. So there is a possibility that some Republicans may not always go with the flow, shall we say?
On that, the Republican leader of the Senate, from what I can recall, that's been nominated was not the Trump pick. They actually voted for a legacy Republican, a traditional Republican, which is actually really surprising. It surprised a hell of a lot of people, considering that Trump's gotten in and stuff.
You Yeah, Pagan. Sorry to interrupt, but Pagan, do you realise that Trump is trying to get the Senate to go into recess while the his recruits have to be approved by the Senate, and that way there is no approval process.
Yes, he's trying to bypass that, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, they are trying to, but the issue is that they're choosing the Senate leader for it's a Republican leader because it's like the Republicans now got control of the Senate. It's not just about that though. It's also about with some of the things that they want to do, they all have to make amendments to the Constitution.
Which will
be that's Trump's plan. That's their plan. That's part of 2025.
It's getting it past the 60% of people in the Senate, and they do not have 60% of the Senate in their control.
No,
that's the one saving grace.
That's very true because you've got Republicans against Trump, haven't you?
Yeah.
So they will do damage, but maybe they might not do as much damage potentially. But we won't know until for sure. An interesting question from Jolly K and everybody else who's there in the chat. If I haven't said hello, I do apologize. Hope you're all doing well. Just asking, are we still expecting Trump to make it all the way to inauguration? So I'm assuming that's implying that we're expecting another assassination attempt. I mean, he's
got 2 ears.
He's had 3 already this year, hasn't he? Well, apparently there was another one, wasn't there, from a potential Iranian Revolutionary Guard?
Yeah. It wasn't. That was a plan, wasn't it? It's cut with the plan, apparently.
I have a question later in context to the Iran stuff, but will he make it? Possibly.
I do think the Secret Service is under pressure because obviously after the last 2 instances, they are definitely feeling the heat.
I think security, because I've noticed that a number more often than not at some of his speeches towards the end of the election campaign, he was actually standing, but more often than not behind bulletproof glass. You notice before that he never did pretty much, and then. Towards the end, he actually it's one thing I think during the election really got to him was actually he might have but it shat him up, it proper shat him up. He's an old man, and that gave him a shock. There's security.
I would like to know why there isn't a scar.
It's called makeup.
Nothing there.
It's called makeup.
It's makeup and plastic surgery. I mean, it's Trump.
I don't think it's plastic surgery.
Has to heal. It takes longer than a day to heal.
No, I generally think it's makeup. There's you can easily hide that. I generally think that's what it was.
They ferret in with a spray tan. You mean?
I mean, I remember watching his podcast, with the Joe Rogan podcast with it, and I could see it's really not that. Just a good enough makeup, you could just hide it away. Really, I think that's what it is.
You got to remember that most people aren't going to notice these individual things about him so much because he's all the shite that's coming out of his mouth and all the weird shit he's doing with his hands.
Well, you're like milking 2 giraffes.
Yeah, you just don't. I'm still flabbergasted that America has done this, but at the same time, I can believe it because. As a socialist, I have recognized that the centrist liberal mindset that is which is the establishment technically, it's failing because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't it just wants to keep the status quo going, and that doesn't work. Not for many people.
Well, I know that Democrats are trying to push some some judges in certain places right now. They're rushing to get some appointments through, and they're also looking to make they're trying to do some contingency stuff between now and Trump's appointment. I also believe that Biden is trying to get through some. He'll be signing lots of executive orders, I expect, between now and then as well. So they'll be trying to do as much to mitigate as much damage that the Trump administration is going to do before they come in.
But Trump said, "Don't stop." He said stop. And the Democrats said that also basically.
But just a question about the executive orders, though. As soon as Biden came in, he undid all the executive orders that Trump brought in. So what's the point in putting executive orders in now when in January Trump is just going to go no?
Well, if it you know, he's got to try something. It's better to try something than try nothing. Oh, we've lost Darren. Oh, hopefully he'll come back in a second with his camera.
I do think it's kind of symptomatic though of the Democrats' current malaise, as I was talking about though. Like they cannot think beyond this establishment way of thinking.
And
I
seem to have lost Darren. Hopefully he'll come back in a second, guys. Sorry, carry on.
They're not. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they're not owning up to their loss, like their mistakes. They're like Bernie Sanders called them out, and they went, "Oh no! We said about this policy. We said that about that policy," and it's like, we told you guys that you were going down the wrong route with this. You should have listened to Bernie before.
I think everyone should listen to Bernie before. He predicted this over 10 years ago.
Yeah. There was a famous video resurfaced of him talking to a classroom about how they.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. I've literally got the clip on my phone because I'd like to to remind myself.
It's literally the future.
Yeah.
An interesting thing I found out was that it's populism that's really on the rise here, and that's what the populations around the world seem to be going for, is more populism than liberalism, because when you actually look at this, ask people like, would you ask a lot of these new voters for Trump, would you have voted for Bernie? They will go, yeah, I quite like Bernie. And to me, that's like, wait, you voted for Trump, you're a Republican, but you say you like Bernie Sanders. The only thing in common is they're both Bernie is populist and the Republicans are populist. But Bernie's populist from the left, which means he wants good things.
Yeah. Let's while we wait for Darren, I think he's got internet issues. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Let's switch gears from America, because I'm sure we're going to mention America again. So it's been more than 100 days now. This Labour government is pretty much settled. I think we can safely say we've had their budget now. Have they made an impact? AllShorts. Do you think they've made? Okay, a better question is, do you think they've made more of a positive or negative impact so far on the British people? I think it's a good question.
Do you want my opinion? I think that, well, they're always doomed to fail because obviously the right-wing media, but also no one seems to talk about any of the good stuff.
Yeah,
they just talk about all the negative stuff. And I don't think they handled the negative stuff very well at all. But and the way they announced it, like the winter payments, just out of the blue like that, I thought that was a big mistake. They just get attacked from all sides then. But they could have done that a lot better, couldn't they?
Labour comms are famously bad.
Yeah, there is. And I don't think they got a mind for business. I really don't. And if you don't look after the businesses, well, then quite frankly, you just hide to nothing anyway, aren't you?
Small businesses were looked after. Like if you look, because I sat and listened to the budget, and whilst I haven't been through the paperwork that goes with it, I've listened to and watched people who have, and talked to people who have on Discord as well, and there is actually provisos set in for small businesses who are going to be mostly affected through this, and that Rachel Reeves also said that more exceptions can be.
Oh, has he gone as well? Looks like
I don't know. He just froze.
He's frozen. He's frozen in time.
He's back in.
Russians.
Oh, he's back.
We've had Daily Blasé come back, and now there he is.
Oh, I'm back.
That's suspicious. That's suspicious, man. That's suspicious.
It's the Russians.
It is the Russians.
Darren, let's get you in, because obviously you've been out. You've been assassination attempts on you there during that.
Elon Musk has taken me out.
Yes. Honestly, because I just asked Marcus on this Labour government. So there has been it has been more than 100 days now. the Labour government are pretty much settled. Would you say they have done more good or bad since they've come to power? What's in your honest opinion?
Well, judging by the way the right-wing media and all the rich people are having the fit of the vapors, then they are certainly doing more good than harm. Because my God, they're billionaires. They are proper having the fit of the vapors. Especially all these millionaire farmers, you know, they've got.
Yes,
I can understand the point of view.
Prayers for Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah,
no, but what we don't want to happen is breaking up the farms. That's the other way of looking at it.
Yeah,
if you think in traditionally always be the firstborn male that would inherit the farm, such as local farms where I used to live in Salhouse. They went to the Caters family, and Albie Cater, who's basically inherited everything. And the others just got a token payment. But the whole point is not to break up the farms, because then the farms become inefficient, because you need hundreds and hundreds of hectares, if not thousands of hectares, to be able to be profitable, properly profitable as a farm. And now they've lost farming subsidies and also the provision of zero-rated financing from the European Union. They're pretty much scupped, and now they've got this as well. So I can see layer after layer after layer, and plus obviously all these so-called trade deals. Plus they're trying. Farage wants to negotiate a trade deal on behalf of Keir Starmer with the United States. That's going to be literally carte blanche, because that's what they wanted last time. Carte blanche for the US farming industry to import more mega farmed.
Did bring it on themselves.
Yeah, I suppose they have brought it onto themselves. Of course they have. But there again, we need food.
Well, yeah. I mean, but there was always going to be
we have a little food shortage, don't we?
So cut your nose to spite your face if you're not careful. You might not like these people and you think it's their own, it's their own fault. And I agree, it is. But at the end of the day, you need to get food in the country. We've got less than 60%.
I thought Kemi Bagnott signed a great trade deal with New Zealand and Australia. I thought we had a great trade deal signed by. She signed a great trade deal. I wonder whatever happened to that trade deal. She's not really jumping the horse about that. As leader of the Conservatives. I wonder what happened to that.
I think for me, with the budget, it's a case of too many people are jumping on the bike too quickly, right? Yeah. One, they've been in for 4 or 5 months. Two of those months separately were break periods, where recess and the conference season, right? So barely any legislation's been passed properly. Their legislative program is only now just getting underway, and people are going, "Why haven't you done this yet? Why haven't you done that yet? Why haven't Labour sorted this out yet?" It's the first budget. They barely had any time to legislate yet. Like, do you really expect them to get these things done now?
Immediately run slow down.
This is the cost of 14 years of Tory damage, and it's like people think that Labour should just come in and fix it like that. It's like it always takes longer to fix something than it does to break it in the first place.
Yeah. And then I think some people were saying it was going
as well.
A great example was
new stuff.
Yeah, but I do think some people were saying like it's going to take a long time to recover from what's happened in the last 14 years. But global events are also not helping our current situation, and if we don't sort ourselves out, things are only going to get worse for us. But they are going to get worse either way, because whatever Labour does, things are going to get worse anyway.
Like, people are going in at Labour, I think too soon. I did say I would give them a year to a year and a half before I'd start making judgments. And the reason for that is because I'm taking into account processes of getting legislation into effect and seeing the effect of what their plans are going to do. Right. Yeah. And that's not, most of that's not going to be likely to be felt for the next year and a half to 2 years or more. The housing stuff, which I saw today, is going to more likely take 10 years, which I would attack. I thought was a bit disingenuous in the manifesto myself, saying they'd do it in this parliament. I always thought it was like a case of it's gonna be a decade thing because you're gonna have to.
It's going to take longer than a decade, mate. It's not going to happen.
Just want to say, for those who've given super chats, Joel DK, thank you for the €2 super chat. He said the damage is systematic. There are no easy fixes. Andrew Luke, £2 super chat earlier saying Labour could prosecute PPE criminals, but no. I think they're in there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're still working on that right now.
Yeah, that's the COVID Commission thing.
Yeah. Alistair Keir earlier, thank you for the £2 super chat saying the special relationship for America view is Canada. You mean the Americans that are traveling over there? Because that's what they're doing.
The American when in America,
the refugees, refugees going to Canada.
About Canada,
refugees.
No, seriously. When in America, when they talk about a special relationship, they don't talk about it in relation to us. They talk about it in relation to the Canadians, not us. Yeah. So it's hilarious that we talk about a relationship.
We just think it's there, but it's not really there, is it?
No, it's all in one way, isn't it? But the only thing that I just didn't really get when it comes to with Labour was the winter fuel cut. I just didn't think what you're going to gain out of that. It's like, did I hear right? It's only going to make about 1.5 billion, and in the grand scheme of things, it's neither here nor there. Really, it's not really. It's a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, I think, is it really worth the absolute hassle that they're going to get with it? Because it's not going to go away. And the thing is, and it just shows you that when it comes to opposition days, the Tories, they had their first opposition day. I thought they could have had an absolute open goal with their winter fuel cut. What did they pick? Tax on private schools. Yeah, that's what they went with, and one of them used Graham Stewart, if I remember rightly. He used somebody in his constituency, because of his daughter was being bullied at a state school.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's had to remove her from a state school because of the absolute rampant bullying that she's had to. He's now having to force to pay more to take her to a private school, as if she's not going to get bullied there even more.
I do feel like sometimes at the MPs when they do use the whole like this constituent or something, I do like a part of me is just like how true is that story sometimes? Because it is. It does cross my mind, but at the same time, it's like I shouldn't say that because that would be wrong. Because obviously there are some very serious stories that you hear. Yeah. So, but it just depends which MP it comes from, which political party the stories come from. Like the one from the last Prime Minister's questions, can be brought up about what was it she used about the she used a constituent, didn't she, to attack Keir Starmer?
Oh, and it failed.
And Kemi had a shit time anyway, didn't she? To be fair, but
quite funny.
I still say my favorite analogy of when it came to it, especially her first PMQs, it was like in a boxing match. Keir Starmer was just holding her at arm's length with his boxing on her forehead, and she's windmilling like a lunatic trying to throw her, and he's just stood there going, yeah, whatever.
Well, at least she had a bigger piece of paper this time, because on her first Premier's question, she just had a little notepad, where this time she actually had a bigger note. So she obviously heard me say something about that, and she has got to say. But it would make more sense if she had, she is stepping up a little bit.
And even then, clearly she didn't write big enough because she couldn't read what she was saying anyway.
Well, she wasn't even listening to the questions, the answers that Keir Starmer gave. Yeah, because it was like there were times where he says like, "I literally just said it a moment ago."
Yes, because I was just saying. Oh, go on. I was just about to say that in her first question, she talked about COP going to was it Afghanistan or
Azerbaijan? It was in.
Yeah.
Perfect place to do COP. Yeah, in an oil rich country. Yeah.
And the president of Argentina did a runner.
And she said, "No, because since you've made what you've arranged over there, you've made people's lives over here more experience."
Yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean?
That's exactly what she said.
What?
Yes.
Well, if she means like experience as in relating to like a video game where you earn experience, maybe that makes sense. But I think
expensive, and she said experience.
I think so as well.
And then after somebody mocked her for having the notepad, she said, "I have pre-prepared questions. The Prime Minister have to answer him from his mind."
Could you imagine, Kemi as the Prime Minister, and then you take her notes away from her, and it's like, okay, Kemi, let's see what you can do with the power of your mind.
Keir Starmer, the first Prime Minister in history who is also a telepath. What?
They've got the scanners when the heads blow off.
And then when he told her that he will be giving £6 million to council and all that, she got into it, and she basically called it. She said £600 instead of 600 million.
Yeah, Geraldine said Starmer's answers weren't in her notes apparently.
Yes.
Apparently not. Andrew Luke, thank you for the £2 super chat. Please rejoin the EU at Parliament petitions. I'll put and Andrew, if you could do me a favor, put a link to that on the Discord. I'll make sure people know about that on that. But I mean, the thing is like Labour have got this mandate. They've got like 400 MPs. We always have to remember that while we wanted the Conservatives gone, that was the one thing everybody was in agreement of. Everyone was in this consensus of the Tories must go. We've got to get rid of them. They are a threat to the whole of the UK. They've made people's lives worse off. So we've gotten them out of power at least. We haven't gotten rid of them, but we've got them out of power at least. And while I am very critical of Labour, as I'm sure you guys say, but it's just like when I hear people say like bring the Tories back or Labour are worse, and it's just like I understand the criticisms of Labour, like because there are a lot of things. I mean, literally, I did a video, I think it was like today or yesterday, like on Gordon Brown attacking Labour over the 2-child benefit cap, which I think, I just don't understand why that's not something being gotten rid of, for example.
I know people who find it popular.
Yeah, and there's people who find it popular because they've been trained to believe that too many people are on benefits or taking advantage of the benefit system. There is that mindset that is in a lot of people these days, which is why people think that it's a good thing. But it goes against the tangent of we have a decline in birth rate. So all these people are saying, you hear them on Talk TV or GB News saying, the population needs to make more babies, produce more babies, while at the same time saying, these people keep, they should work harder. They shouldn't have more kids if they can't afford them. And it's just like you can't have it both. You can't have it both ways,
Yeah. I've done my bit.
Yeah, because I've done my bit as well. My body's absolutely knackered for it. But I was watching the Works and Pension Select Committee meeting with
Liz Kendall.
Liz Kendall, that's it.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, getting people back into work. We need to get more people. And clearly the elephant in the room was Brexit.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. The reason why we've got shortage of workers is due to the fact that we have a shortage of workers, don't we?
We do. But also, I think Trump's inauguration, if it ever happens, we get that far earlier, but I think that's left the UK so wide open. I think we're gonna seek more or closer relationship with the European Union member states.
Someone's doing that anyway.
I think the Bank of
Yeah,
England.
he's trying to do that. Yeah.
Bank of England just noted. Sorry, just wanted to point
trying-
out the Bank of England did note that as well today.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? But also, Andrew Bailey. But also Hungary's putting his 2 pence worth in as well. You know, because like for instance, the returns deal regarding migrants and stuff like that, that ain't gonna happen. He said, we won't agree to that. Says Viktor Orban. Yeah. But just if we could just soften our approach to the European Union after this rabble of Tories has just destroyed our reputation and sentiment towards the UK.
Again,
the whole of the UK, obviously not just England.
Behind the curtains, things are like there's a lot of reaching. The first place that the first places that Starmer went to when he became prime minister were European countries. Like first people he spoke to was European leaders, not Biden.
Yeah,
and in fact, from what I heard from Phil earlier, like the Labour Party actually had arguments with Biden about their position on Israel.
there has been a breakthrough as well regarding school kids visiting. Going to the French school kids, for instance, coming to the UK.
Oh yeah, that's good.
They've made an agreement there where they can just travel on their
still with their visas, is
ID
it?
cards.
Yeah, it's going to be slow. But you've also got to remember that a lot of the bureaucracy that would have been useful for communicating with the EU was dismantled under Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like again, we have to Labour now has to rebuild all of that. And if they did all that in public, as much as we want them to go all public about supporting reversing Brexit, but if they do that, have you guys actually spoken to people in public like I have about Brexit?
I know a few Brexiters, and 1 or 2 of them said, "That's it. He's going to try and take us back into Europe."
Well, I've had mixed reactions down here, and for the most part, people don't want to admit that they were wrong. Still, like on the quiet, if they're answering a poll, they'll say that they want to reverse Brexit. If you ask them in the street, like I do when I go down the shop, like they're like, "Oh, I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to talk about it." Like that. That's the most common response I get. "Oh, I don't want to talk about Brexit."
Oh, it's done, isn't it?
I will say though,
that's just it. Like we want to bring it up all the time because it's so fucking important. The problem is the stupidity and ignorance of the average voter is impossible to overcome. You actually have to take into account the stupidity and ignorance.
Well, you've got to explain it to them like they're babies, and you have to break it down to them like they're babies. Because if you don't, the reality is we're going to be stuck in the threshold. Excuse me. I will say, obviously, that there is going to be a consensus of Labour does need to push it a bit more behind the scenes to get things, to get the ball rolling on some things. But he's at the same time, as you said, Pagan, he is worried about the right wing, the Conservatives, the Reform, because there is that group out there, whether we like it or not, there is that group out there that still think Brexit was a great thing, that sovereignty and all that nonsense, that they think that their lives are better off. And they're pinning, and rather than blaming Brexit for their problems since we've left, they seem to point their fingers at immigration or it was the
war in Ukraine or
the war in Ukraine,
pandemic.
It's always about pointing the fingers somewhere else to that, and people need to understand about the of how much money that even councils, when I hear so many times the stories about the English councils and what they have to go through, what the cuts that they have to make, and literally telling some people, the ones with the there was a story not too long ago I heard one council had to turn away literally a mother and her kids, even though they're not supposed to, they had nowhere for them to go, and it was just it's heartbreaking to hear that. It's bad enough obviously when you hear about if you're a single man, you're screwed if you have no home. But you would think that even as a single mother with a child or whatnot, there would still be something somewhere to put you. But even that is becoming extremely difficult. And it just ties into the whole housing market situation that we have as well.
This has been a long-standing problem. Like even going back into the last Labour government, like more than 20 years ago, when I was still a kid, like there was about 6 months to a year of my life where my mum couldn't get like a house. Like we were staying in B&Bs because we couldn't get a house, and this was in Exeter, the capital of Devon.
Yeah.
Well, there are more than enough houses, but it's the rich people buying up second house. I am fully against second house. You want to buy a second house, you build it your damn self.
I just want to point out that Marcus is warming up the fire for all of us, and we greatly appreciate it. Just gonna. It's really nice. I think we all needed that. We needed that. It's quite chilly. It's quite chilly.
Yeah. Well, as I say, somebody who worked for the Bradford Council for 30 years. During last Labour government, I'll be working double time, triple time, bank holidays, and all that, and I was doing all right, we had all sorts of projects. I was once a project supervisor for a side project for Bradford Council. Come 2010, that all changed. Every year, dragged in at office. Oh no, that contract you signed last year. Cutbacks. Here's your new contract. Take it or leave it. If you don't have it,
that's like fighting to be higher, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. If you don't like it, there's a door. Well, there'll be somebody else who will take your job for you. And when you've got kids, young kids, and you're a family to support, what choice do you have? And more often than not, it was a case of you had to have more work for less pay. And then when it got really, really bad, it would come to a point when people were retiring. They weren't replaced. Whatever job they did was given to whoever else.
Basically, more workload for the same people. It's just more work, less same pay. Pretty much.
It's not freezing there because there's just enough people, isn't there?
What's the stats I heard? Something like in the UK, I mean, it's worse in the EU apparently, and in America. But productivity has risen, wage growth has stagnated. On a measure of two to threefold, if I remember the statistics right.
It's been stagnated for quite a long time.
And apparently in the EU, it's even worse than it is here. Apparently here in Britain, we actually have better wage growth than the EU. On average, there are individual EU countries doing better than us, like the Nordic countries.
What I mean, I'm not saying it's not worse there, but the only reason it's not worse there is because we don't have a shortage of workers to the degree that you got in the UK. If you've got a shortage of workers, it's because your wage go up.
Apparently, there's less unionisation as well. Apparently, as an average, there's less unionisation across the EU than there is in Britain as a whole.
Have you been to France?
No, you're talking about one country. I was just saying.
You mean like the Europe as a whole?
The EU average is that the unionisation.
You don't need unionisation there. They just dump shitloads of shit on the roads and shit like that. Spray public buildings with poop.
We know France is highly unionised, but again, that's like. According to
I'm talking mostly EU, the Netherlands, Germany.
The donkeys will do their doo-doo right outside Macron's house.
But that's again, we're talking about France here. Like the European Union, France is not Europe as a whole, is it?
No, I'm talking about Europe. I was not talking about France. I'm talking about Germany, the Netherlands. They just strike. They just stop everything. Just like the farmers in the UK are threatening to block your ports so your food can't come into the country. That's what they do here. We have a national season for striking.
Wage growth.
Why do you have a national season for striking?
Why
is wage stagnation worse then?
General question, Marcus. Like, why is that? Why do French governments don't appeal enough to unions, or is it just the case that unions just have too much power? Has that always been the case then in France?
I think the case with France is the people have more power.
Yeah,
and that stems back. It's historic. Since Bastille Day and what have you, when
I think you'll find, Marcus, that we do form formidable queues. I'll have you.
We're pretty orderly about it, to be fair. Like, no one does it like us.
Exactly. Once we form that formidable queue, there's nothing that's going to stop us.
It's like a wall.
That's pretty true.
If I see more than 3 people at the till, I walk away.
There's a reason why. Whenever I pop into my local Tesco's, I always do the self-service because there's like 5 people queuing for the kiosk, and it's just like I don't want to do self-service. I like actually interaction with the cashier, but like when there's 5 people in front of me, it's just like, you know, I'm not going to wait 5 hours for someone. You know, I'm just going to go in and go out. Unfortunately,
if I use self-service, I'll just do it all, and then once it goes muck, I'll just leave it. I can't be arsed with it. Sod it, go somewhere else, and just leave it at the self-service.
Yeah, just fill the self-service up, and walk off.
Yeah,
so they'll deal with it.
That's just fucking rude.
I feel sorry for the workers on that front.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As a previous retail worker, I am deeply offended by that.
No, I'll just leave it. I can't. Because like they'll say, "Can you put it in the bag?" Then we don't put it in the bag, and then it'll say, "No, it's not done properly." And you think, "It's in the bag."
Ones.
Yeah, it's in the bag. Yeah, no. Apparently, the self-service tell me, "No, it's not gone in the bag." Sod it, leave it. I can't be bothered with it. My time is precious. Sod it, leave the lot.
We don't have that problem with the co-op ones.
It's the people who want bags packed a certain way. In America, they're like, no, you got to do it this way, or no, let me show you how it's done, or whatever. Like to aggravate the cashier when they're doing it, and I've never experienced that because I've never actually. It doesn't really happen here, at least in the retails that I've worked for. But when you see that over in America, I was just like, God, you're a right arsehole. Yeah, taking it out, making them put it back in, and then doing it a certain bloody way. It's just like, just put the shit in the bag and get the fuck on with your life.
I will have to say, as someone who suffers with a bit of OCD, I have seen this myself in like Iceland's down here, and it's an OCD thing. People have real OCD problems about how to put things in a bag. I don't know if it's there's a similarity with the accent with the Southwest in America. We use the erotive R just like the Americans do. None of the rest of Britain seems to nowadays. And now we've got this same attitude when it comes to putting stuff in a bag. Like, no, it's got to be in there right proper. Right proper.
Speaking, I know we touched quite a bit on Brexit, but I honestly wanted to ask you guys, like, is there a possibility do we think that we can go back into the EU sooner rather than later? Is there any chance whatsoever of that?
If in my honest opinion, it won't be in my lifetime, and I'm 54.
No.
If it is,
my initial thought was like 30 years, 30 plus. Well, at least, or something like that. But
if we do, I think it'll be down to freak circumstances, like war really explodes and Europe decides that everyone
needs to come together.
The EU needs to come together. Then I think Starmer will go, yes, open door. I'm going for that shit because he wants to rejoin the EU. He does. But
I agree with that. But it all depends on what public opinion is again, doesn't it? People feel it
really
not just in their pockets, but they feel they're at threat. They think, hang on, if we join hands, maybe we feel a bit safer. Because the United States isn't going to look out for us.
You'd be confident to want us back. Because, what's the point in allowing us back in for when the Tories say, right, we want out?
Yeah, this is the problem. Yeah, because I think
it'd have to be another referendum, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Well, Nigel would want a referendum, of course, wouldn't he? He will want a referendum.
It should be done by referendum. It should not be done by referendum. I agree with Maximilian.
No, I don't think so.
Not being done by referendum in the fucking first place.
No, it should. Like we elect politicians to make these decisions for us. It's, we decide whether there should be politicians or MPs or not. It's not up to us.
But that could equally be dangerous.
Yeah, that is true.
If you get people like Trump and people like Boris Johnson, they put in people in positions that who are favourable with them. Just like Trump at the moment, he's just trying to suck up all the people out of Florida to go into government.
Well, that's not last too long, is it? Within like a decade and a half, they're like most of Florida is going to be underwater. So
is Ely.
Well, there's a couple of. I do think there's a couple of criteria that if in all seriousness, like if there is this consensus that we do want, like we would like to join the EU sooner, if it is possible, there's a couple of things. So the first and foremost is obviously we need to get the majority of political parties on our side, the majority of the House on our side. It's not enough to just have the general public to want to rejoin the EU, even if it was 60 to 40 or 70 to 30. It's not much good if
it's not down to the people, Regan. Why are they there? Are they there just for their own needs or for us?
There's also the other point of the media. I will get to your super chats in a moment, guys. I just want to point this out. But there's also the media, and I'm sure you guys agree with me that we've been banging on about this for so long about how much we need to have some kind of media reform. The Leveson inquiry, it is one of the biggest problems that I think we have in not just here in England, but across the whole of the UK. Because as long as we have the kinds of media that we have, there will always be people who will fall down these rabbit holes in these beliefs. And then when you have, I mean, how many times have you watched a roundtable discussion on BBC Politics or ITV or somewhere, and you hear just such. All right, sorry, say Square Table. I'm going to say Square Table just to not shoot myself in the foot.
Sorry.
But how many times they put someone on there who you have no idea who the hell they are, or why are they on there? They don't have any knowledge, or they're from some kind of think tank that you don't even know who funds them or whatnot, and they spew a bunch of nonsense. And it's just, what is this? What is this nonsense that people are driving out? And there's a and of course, there is obviously the reforms that need to be made in well, they do get that on the BBC, to be fair, but they still get
at the beginning. They should have done reforms right at the beginning. They could have done what some like France, for instance. You can't own a media company in France unless you are a citizen of France.
Let me just
Murdoch, what have you. That's one step they could have done.
Just before you carry on, I just want to say, Dave McGuinness, thanks for the £5 super chat. There will be no return to the EU while the EU anti-tax avoidance directive is in force. Thanks for that super chat. And Johnny K with €5 super chat. He says it's unlikely that the changes needed for the UK to qualify for a candidate membership would be comparable with the UK continuing in its current form. I think
national debt.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement with that one, to be fair there.
You can't have the rules now because they're Copenhagen is at 60% of GDP. You will cover national debt of 60% of the GDP. When you think about the United States national debt, it's like 32 trillion. They pay $500 billion in interest every year.
Well, wow. Tories went and whacked up a lot of the debt with Brexit.
Yeah,
that's
ongoing as well, isn't it?
This was always going to be one. Like, this is, and people complain, why is Reeves still talking about the debt? I clicked onto Novara Media a few months back, and Michael Walker, I think he's constantly like,
Michael Walker,
debt doesn't fucking matter. The debt really doesn't matter because we're getting it from the Bank of England. Like, we're getting it from we're indebted to ourselves.
Don't work like that.
This is the way it was put, and I'm like, I'm sure this is something to do with international markets too.
Bonds,
it's not just
like
to
that,
ourselves.
Most of the debt that we owe is to ourselves. And I never forget the bollocks that came out of David Cameron about clearing the debt and whatnot back in 2010. And yet somehow we've ended up with a bigger debt. And people are trying to say, oh, it's Labour's fault. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? They've been in power for 14 years. They made the debt worse. Yeah, but but Sunak had to do the whole bail out the country for the pandemic and whatnot.
Did you hear the interview with David Cameron's sister-in-law?
I did.
Yes.
I did see that.
Yes, out of laugh, she's there trying to say they've made up this £22 billion and look at the mess and it's total utter lies. They should stand on their own 2 feet and this and that and the other. And like, for the last 14 years, they've lived off that note, haven't they?
Wasn't there an MP in the Commons recently this week saying that the Labour Party should apologise? And I'm like, okay, I get that the national insurance employers think. I know that's a big whammy, and it's really. I think it was really, really cold of Labour to do that, if I'm honest, because it will affect employers one way or another. If it doesn't affect employers' wage increases, it's going to affect the prices that comes out of those companies. The money's got to come from somewhere, and companies will
pass on to you.
Yeah, they're going to pass on to consumers, or they will increase the prices of their products, one of the two. Because one thing they do not want it to do is come out of their own profits. It's got to come from somewhere.
See, the problem is people talk about wealth tax, but wealth tax is. I've listened to a bunch of tax experts who have turned around and said the wealth tax will not help in this area. So, what are you going to do about it? Like, this is again, I will reiterate, this is the cost of 14 years of Tory government plus Brexit plus a pandemic. It was never going to be
too many rich buggers.
Labour did say. And people complained at them for months for saying this. They said this for months. The budget will be painful. There was some good stuff in the budget because it's Labour, right? It's not the Tories.
Well, the infected blood scandal, the post office scandal, compensation schemes, I'm pleased about, but they didn't say anything about the WASPy women. They didn't mention anything there. That was
again, first budget, and again. 14 years of Tory mismanagement, Brexit, and a pandemic to pay for. That's what Labour have to account for monetarily.
Well, it'd be quite nice to hear a plan, wouldn't it? Though over the next few years, that's what not just this.
The OFS, the ONS doesn't seem to think that Labour are Labour's plan is too bad, and from what I've read when it comes to the nuance of
the IMF weren't.
The ONS
they were big. The IMF were pretty cautious about it as well. Like, they weren't bigging it up, but they also weren't trashing what they've.
Yeah, they turned around and said this has the potential to build. Again, if you think about what Labour have actually said, this is fixing the foundations.
Yeah, the other thing is that they've got. Yeah, I agree, but you also have to realise or accept that Donald Trump is likely to put tariffs on the UK 10 to 20%. That is going to hit our economy big time, and the ONS in relationship to Donald Trump have already reduced their outlook for the UK's economy. So good.
Why? But here's the thing, right? Why target businesses? Why are we targeting businesses?
Well, it's mostly targeted towards the big businesses. Again, there are exceptions. And again, I read the budget and I listened to the budget in full. There are exceptions for small businesses aren't going to be hit with the national insurance hike.
Here's the thing.
But what do you call small business? They didn't define that.
But the other thing as well, I think I don't mean to cut off yet, but I just want to point this out, right? If you're serious about growth, if you're serious about growing the economy, as they always call it all the fucking time. Well, one of the ways we do that is by supporting and backing our businesses in any way, shape, or form. This will hurt some businesses. It will hurt businesses, and even Rachel Reeves, even though they kept saying we protected workers, we protected working people, she literally admitted a day or two after in one interview saying that it will hit workers. So she literally lied about saying that it wouldn't hit workers, because it will, because the employers have to pay for those costs, and there will be cuts. Yeah, they've got to make up.
It's instead of directly hitting the workers themselves, this would hit them to not as bad a degree, because it's not direct. Then it's not directly hitting them themselves. I know it's not great, but again, it wasn't going to be fantastic. This is the cost of 14 years of Tory misrule, the pandemic,
but what's worse, Pagan, losing your job or losing, I don't know, a tenner a week in your pay packet?
That can depend on the circumstances.
That is true.
Losing your job.
I don't have a job. I can't work. There are many.
But
Like
there will be some cases where some businesses will make cost-effective decisions because they're a direct result of this.
I've been in business long enough to know that. I was an employer, and we would have to. We wouldn't have no choice. We would have to make some savings somewhere.
Yeah, their businesses will have to.
This is going to be painful.
Yeah,
and it is.
Yes.
I will reiterate again. This is only the first budget of this parliament. There's likely to be two to three more, which are likely to be better than this first budget.
That's what I have to agree. That's what I'm concerned about. What Phil said there. National insurance rate will lead to wage stagnation and job losses. That's what I'm generally concerned about. And as Darren mentioned, with the pensions committee obviously looking to push people back into work, because we have this work shortages when, quite frankly, some of these people are incapable of working, or some of them are still trying to get those hospital or doctor's appointments, or some of them have disabilities that they can't get into work. That adds, to try to me, the whole benefit thing to try and plug the gaps in the workforce is because they don't want to pull workers from abroad, because they don't want to look like they're taking in migrants, because it makes them look bad against the whole immigration thing, because they've not been.
That will feed Farage. That would feed Farage.
Yeah,
that's the big problem. Like because the Tories gave the open door to Nigel Farage. Like what Labour expected to just like ignore them now, and the amount of people they managed to convince.
Well, immigration is not really. I will say immigration has gone quiet. I mean, there was they did say in Prime Minister Questions, didn't they, that they've sent was it like 8,000 or something have been sent back, since they've come into power. I think it was like 8,000 illegal immigrants have been sent packing out of the country, which is
that scheme that Italy was trying to see through, and also Keir Starmer wanted to mimic. That's just been blocked by the courts.
Yeah, there was a I think it was a while back. There was like, we need to review this before we can make a final decision, and now they've just said, haven't they, that no, we can't do this, and it's just like Elon Musk is screaming about it. Actually, apparently he tweeted about it somewhere. And
he had a very nice meal, didn't he?
All of a sudden, you've become a big fan of the Italian Prime Minister.
Yeah. They looked like a love couple. They did all loved up. They were.
You do know? What? From what I've heard, Elon Musk's new job in the cabinet is to be the first lady.
Yes. He changed his name to Melania and wearing giant glasses, so you can't tell it's not her. They've already done that, haven't they? I forgot.
Yeah.
Talking of Melania, did you guys know about what Putin did the first time Trump came into power?
Yeah, there was a video from Alex West, didn't he? He had a video, but I didn't know about this story.
He put on Russian state news media pictures of Melania and Trump nude, and the broadcasters were stood there sniggering.
Yeah, that's
no shit. And Putin has this.
Is it true what they say? It was tidy hands then.
Yeah.
But Putin has this buddy relationship with Trump, does he? I don't think so.
He thinks we can call Putin up. That was a big lie, wasn't it?
I'm surprised that it hasn't been reported much in the Western media. When I heard that, when I watched that video and I heard the story, I was like, how come no one's on this side of the spectrum has reported it? Are they just that afraid?
Said no, he didn't.
Are they just afraid of upsetting Donald Trump? Is that the only reason why they wrote report on it?
I think it was
they're scared of upsetting Trump.
If you check out Political X,
Alex on Political X, someone can put a link to his channel.
Actually shows the clip where, like, obviously the pictures are blurred out, but you can see the two Russian broadcasters.
I don't need to see the details, but
you see the two broadcasters sniggering at it. Like,
no, I'm sure I did. Yeah, I'm sure I did when I watched it, but. Yeah, the thing that baffles me is that why has no one said anything like from the mainstream media? Why has no one said any talked about this? Is one of the things that's surely you would think like the BBC would say on the day of this, Russian state TV posted in these and didn't even say a peep on it, and it's this once again And this, once again, I just want to point this out to people because this is really important. It once again reinforces that message to people that you cannot trust the mainstream media. You can't trust what they tell you because they're not telling you everything. They're not being absolutely blunt and telling you everything, because people find their news more reliable online these days because they're not being open and honest about everything that they report.
Well, statistics do show that during this last election, the social media was looked at more for political news than the mainstream media. Like social media actually beat mainstream media when it came to viewership over the election.
Can we go back to earlier? So we digressed a little bit about what you're saying about employment and what have you, and this national insurance hit on businesses and what have you. The thing no one seems to don't seem to mention is the fact that when businesses make cuts, they don't just make cuts and it says, "Oh, you're unemployed now." They'll make cuts in other areas of their business, like for instance, "Oh, we won't have that new driveway or something, or new car park, or new this, or new that." And it's all the subsidiary businesses that end up losing contracts. So it's much broader than just what's focused on the employees themselves. There's all the other smaller businesses down the line. I guess, it's just like, for instance, what happens regarding the coffee shops and stuff. When you don't have the influx of people coming in, they don't spend money. And the same with workers, They're not all employed. Some of them are self-employed or just sole traders, They all get hit.
It's all about what they feel in their pockets. If they don't feel they have more money in their pockets, they're gonna put their vote elsewhere, and they probably end up,
I think again we'll have to see what the results are, because we still got the spending review to go yet as well.
There's always going to be the next. There's always going to be the next review, the next thing. But you said,
the spending review is in. The spending review is what, next spring?
Yeah.
So it's only a few months away, basically.
I mean, they are doing that. They are doing as well. I don't know if it's spring or autumn, but I know they are doing an assessment on child poverty.
Yeah, that's happening. That's happening already. That started already.
We already have that.
That started already.
Wasn't 1 million children getting food from food banks? And that was like 2 years ago. They've been there already. It's just the same old stuff, isn't it?
Labour already.
Like how many children are sleeping on just mattresses and not actually in beds?
It would be good to get accurate numbers, like after the pandemic as well.
And how many kids are still waiting for mental health treatment and stuff like that just to get on the list?
They have mentioned mental health quite a lot, to be fair, Labour, but whether they actually do something is another matter.
Not do it without the staff or the specialists, are you?
And again, it comes down to that as well, the workforce.
It's going to take It's going to take time to build up.
It's a long while, isn't it?
It's going to take a while to build this stuff up. And again, this is why I get really annoyed that people go, "Why aren't Labour doing this? Why aren't Labour doing that?" And it's like, have they been in for 14 years?
I would like to see Labour being more open with us, though, what they're planning, what they're actually doing. Because they don't tell us much.
Well, don't get me wrong.
Tories, they didn't either. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the next Zoom meeting, because being a Labour member, I've been on Labour Zoom meetings quite a few times, and I've spoken to people like Angela Rayner and Ed Miliband over webcam, and I wait for the next one, because there was literally nothing in this budget to do with preparing for the effects of climate change and sea level rise. They talked about green energy, but that's not actually as important as preparing for the effects of sea level rise.
Well, the only way you can do that is use some sea defences, not just for the sea itself, but you're going to need sea defences because there's going to be a shitload more boats coming.
Well, I mean, Paignton, where I live, in the area that I am, I'm actually 285 feet above sea level, but the majority is only like 20 feet above sea level, including the train track that comes down here from Exeter.
There's have you seen? There's a website about, like, you can put in the date. It shows you a map of where all the sea levels are going to be, what the predicted sea levels will be in like 50 years' time, for instance. And if you look at Ely, even in Cambridgeshire way, it's just literally underwater. It's just gone.
Yeah. Like if you look at the southwest, and like there's a large portion of South Devon, South Devon's coastline, which is going to be gone. Exeter, which I experienced flooding, the River Exe flooding in Exeter, and the River Exe is, joins up to the Exe estuary, which is tidal, which is also going to cause problems. So because a lot of Exeter is kind of down at sea level as well. Plymouth, that's going to be parts of Plymouth's going to be caused issue. Again, I can only talk from a local perspective because Devon is seemingly apart from the rest of the country, but like just talking from our area, a lot of Cornwall's screwed.
Well, so Norfolk as well is it's disappearing at a rate of knots at the moment. Haysborough and Seaport and all that area. And the policy of the United Kingdom is if the value of the land is not worth more than the cost of the works, they don't value it. They say, no, it's not going to happen. Exactly. I don't know how the hell you can put a value on something that's priceless.
This is why I'm like, when it comes to, like, for me, the more important than anything else is preparing for this stuff. And when it comes to housing, you have to take into, for me, you do actually have to take into account the effects of sea level rise and climate change, depending on where you're building, right? Like, we also going to need to, like, if you look during the pandemic, we had the beginning of the pandemic, I think it was, the collapse of that dam, of the reservoir.
Yeah.
And was it 2 reservoirs even because of Victorian infrastructure? This needs to be dealt with. This isn't like something we can leave off to be done later down the line. This needs to be done now.
Those dams won't be able to cater with extra sea level rises. Even some of the more modern ones won't.
There's going to need to be a huge amount of investment.
But this is what, like, I have my own issues with the Labour government because they're not taking this seriously. They're talking about...
Well, no, £22 billion of carbon capture is apparently more interesting to them.
Again, carbon capture could come in handy because the only thing that it's
never worked
for is with concrete production. And if we're going to be building, say, sea defences, we're going to need lots of fucking concrete.
Just 1 ton of CO2.
Or we could just give Mike Graham a call. I'm sure he can tell us how to grow plants.
Graham has some weird ideas when it comes to tech. I like maglev. So I've seen the songs for it.
So we just only got about just over 5 minutes or so. Guys, if you want to throw any questions, feel free to do so. I will want to bring up something that Dave McGuinness has brought up as well, which I think is really important about what's happening in the Middle East. And I think, we do need to really call out this from, the questions that were put to Keir Starmer about the genocide taking place by Israel. And that was, without a doubt, I think that was one of the real low points of Prime Minister's questions from Keir Starmer when he was asked that question, when he knows that what they're doing is acts of genocide, and yet we are still supporting Israel unconditionally, that we're still supplying them with weapons. Yes, we are one of the lowest in terms of weapons and armaments to Israel. I know we are one of the lowest, but still, it is extremely frustrating to hear that. Darren, I know you've been quiet about all this, just taking everything in that we're saying. Why have we not done? Why have we not just said stop? Why do you think we've not just said stop and just stay away from this?
Do you know what I do? I just think how a Conservative MP would think. See what done on that? They said anti-Semitic. Remember Zara Sultana? I think it was possibly the last question PMQ was for Rishi Sunak before he called an election. It was somewhere around there. She mentioned all this and calling for a ceasefire and whatnot. And then he just looked at Keir Starmer and said, the leader of the opposition said that he was leading a party of change. Not from where I'm sitting. I see the same old Labour.
It's the perception of anti-Semitism is the problem.
Exactly. And
perception.
Exactly.
And you can't just dismiss it either. You can't just dismiss it either, because look at America. America's just voted for a fascist on vibes. This
even his family got Jewish background, didn't they?
Is there anything that the UK government can do for the people of Palestine?
Nope.
Do you think? All right, I've got a crazy question. It would upset the right wing and those who hate immigrants, but do you think we should open up a legal route for Palestinians to come to the UK?
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
No, I wouldn't either. But
As long as it's not by rubber boat, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Bring them over. Bring them over.
Yeah,
I
would like to.
I said to you the other day, mate, like they need to flee. If they can, they must flee because unfortunately nothing will stop Israel now.
There is a bit of an issue here, is that they do see the United Kingdom as being integral as far as they're concerned, integral in Israel's genocide, and it's you know what it's like. You kill one person, you create 2 terrorists, and that is obviously going to be something that you have to be very, very careful of. How do you vet that? Because a lot of these people will be children. You supplied the weapons that killed my father, or something. I mean, or my mother, or my little sister.
I mean, a lot of them will probably go to France to begin with.
I would have thought that they would try to aim to. I would have thought maybe even Turkey is a possibility, but Egypt they can't do because Egypt's already full. They're getting overwhelmed by migration from Sudan anyway. Never mind just what's happening in Gaza.
Egypt have already blocked the Rafah crossing, so Egypt don't care. Saudi Arabia don't materially care.
Saudi Arabia are just trying to serve their own interest at the end of the day, aren't they? Because they don't want to lose America as an ally in any way, shape, or form. Because they know if they lose America as ally, puts them at risk from Iran, which is the only reason why I don't think Iran going attacking because of their history there, isn't it? So
I said Gaza,
legal routes for Palestine agree, but time.
Gaza and the West Bank, they're fucked, and I hate to say it, but like it is. To me, it's just as inevitable as the last Druids after the Romans' cultural genocide of the Druids here in Britain, because that's exactly what that was. People joke about it now, but it was exactly that. The culture of the Druids here in Britain was genocided by the Romans. That's what Israel is doing to the Palestinians in the modern era.
Mm-hmm. And sort of like also, as somebody who, we know, we're all 4 of us and rest in the chat, we're all immersed in it. I know people, it's like for a time on a Saturday I'll be out with a friend and they're all doing the Free Palestine marches in town hall, and half of my mates will look at them as if to say, what the fuck are you doing? Pardon my French, but they think, because they're just oblivious. It's geopolitics. I bet a good amount of people just not interested.
They're not interested. Also, they don't read to the end of the articles. Articles are mainly clickbait anyway. It's just headlines and headlines. It's like where the 3-word slogans worked, on the podiums and stuff. It's just people are late. Majority of people either got their own problems to worry about.
Exactly.
Or they just not interested.
And that's how I've always viewed things when I try not to be I try not to be party political, but I do try and think, how would a Conservative MP view that? And that's exactly what they did to Zara Sultana. And I've seen when they were doing the ceasefire talk, there were a few Conservative MPs, trying to get the Labour into the anti-Semitism argument. And I could totally understand why he's doing it. I don't agree with it because I don't really get involved in the argument when it comes to what's happening, because I just leave it to the people who know more than me. But from an outsider looking in, it looks like the Israeli government are doing far more damage to Israel than what the Hamas or Hezbollah or whatever else could ever do to Israel. But I know people who just, I know it sounds heartless, don't really care, and they don't know, they're not immersed in it. And when they look at them protesting outside City Town Hall, there's only about 5 or 6 with the Palestine flags, and most of them it's look at them, what the hell are you doing?
See, it's weird because when you look at the news and you see these millions of people marching for the Palestinians in London, like, I love to see it, don't get me wrong, but when you actually compare it to the rest of the population, it's actually a tiny fraction of the population.
I do think people have solidarity with them, but it's just like they feel it's a cause. It's like Just Stop Oil. Like, like it's similar, but it's like if it's like to them, it's just like it's not going to change anything. Unfortunately, the feeling is that it's not going to change anything, even though they believe in the causes. There is a sense that it's a cause that it's not worth dying for, but that is what some people generally believe in, and I generally mean this, and I'm sure you all agree with me, is that we hope that those who can get out do get out, and that international governments help them get out and find them new homes somewhere. I really, really generally mean that. If by some miracle there is a ceasefire called, then that would be fantastic, but I'm not holding my breath on that. But it would be great if that was to come to fruition. Because I think one thing we all agree with is war is an absolutely fucking terrible thing, and it's always the innocent that suffer.
This is we're taking our eye off the ball, though, aren't we, regarding Ukraine?
Yeah. Yeah. But we'll have to save that topic, guys, for another time. Guys, I just want to say a massive thank you to One Angry Pagan, Daily Blasé, AllShorts. Thank you guys so much for coming along. I really appreciate your time. I want to say a massive thank you to those in the chat for your comments. There was so many of you guys here today. I hope you guys found the conversation we had interesting, informative, helpove.
There's lots of familiar names, I see.
There is a lot of familiar names there. There was a lot of familiar names. Yeah. I want to say thank you to those who gave super chats. Thank you so much for them. I really do appreciate it. I do have a date for next month's Snowflake Roundtable for you guys, just so you know. It will be Thursday, the 12th of December, featuring myself and One Angry Pagan. And Dave McGuinness, who is lurking in the chat.
Oh, Dave McGuinness. Did I see him a minute ago?
Yes.
Okay.
And also random Scottish history. So it'll be a bit of a Scots special for us next month as we're getting the run up to Christmas, guys. So I know the Scots in the chat are going to be looking forward to that one next month. But that doesn't mean to say that we won't have another one with these two wonderful guests that we've had here. So, guys, thank you so much for coming along. And we will definitely do this again at some point next year, I'm sure. I have to say next year.
Hey, so. And don't forget, next time we want to see a round table.
Yeah. I have to fashion the shield somewhere.
I'll try not to.
Part of your frame. And,
all right, what I'll do is I'll order a little tiny table and I'll just put it in front of you. Say, welcome to the round table, and I'm holding it in my hand.
and do we sing the Knights of the Round Table song from the Holy Grail, Life of Brian?
You'll have to give me you have to send me the lyrics, and then I'll need to practice it.
The round table.
Guys, tomorrow Friday Frolics at 5 p.m. with Daily Blasé, and then 7 p.m. I've got Friday Lights tomorrow as well. So if you guys want to join me for that, you got any other live streams planned at the moment? AllShorts?
Hey, not planned. I'm a bit random these days.
You're a bit random. Yeah, so maybe like a wooden one at 12 in the afternoon or something. You know, just out of the blue, like while I'm having a sandwich. Oh, I'm just gonna put on the live stream there. But guys, do check out.
I don't really had my head in my space at the moment because I lost my dog and it's kind of been
yes, guys. Can we give some love, some hearts in the comments? Yeah, for Wally. What an absolutely lovely dog.
Freak's blessings. Freak's blessings.
Yeah, much blessings, of course.
Yeah. I've got another one down there. You can't see her. She's just about there. Just there.
I don't know if you noticed earlier. I had a little Muppet jump onto my lap. That was Petra.
I thought it was a badger.
No, well, this is Angry Badger, but like you might have seen the dog pop up onto my lap earlier.
No, I didn't see that.
That was Petra. That was.
Yes, we will all miss Wally. That is for sure. Absolutely,
he is an amazing dog. He really was.
I was actually quite sad because I was watching one of your video before we go. I was watching one of your videos today, and there was Wally there, and I was just, wish I didn't see that video now.
I've always got reminders. I tell you, he's such a character as well, and he was a cheeky little fella, naughty little boy, but he's
eating grass. What's he eating grass for? You were saying in the video. It's like, what are you feeding that dog? Yeah. You're not clearly not giving him the right food there.
Yeah, that was only last week as well, and that was then he passed on Saturday night. So
it was
horrible.
Yeah, so we put our dog down just before last Christmas. No, it was just after last Christmas, because like I think she was suffering with a bit of dementia. She was 15. She were just staring at space. Not the same dog. So it's. So I know what you're going through. It's horrible.
It is horrible.
It is.
Yeah, like
Guys,
it's we knew it was coming, eventually, because he was only 15, so it's a good old age for him. But it's just just to see the deterioration so quickly, it was just horrible. It was horrendous.
Yeah.
But, he was a better part of me, He's just he's my buddy.
Yeah, but our Pepper, proper rebel she was. When we took her down, she was put on carpet, and like the rebel, she said, "Oh, something to piss on," so she took a slash on her.
Sounds like my Wally.
I'm not going down without leaving a mess for you to clean up first. You're going to put me down. I'm going to leave a mess here.
Yes.
I always do. You're going to clean this up.
It'd have been even better if she'd have dropped a walnut whip as well.
I tell you what, that's what walnut whips. My Wally dog could stick a poo on a tree, right? But when we used to do the round walk, okay, and we come past, we got a particular English neighbour that we didn't really like. Anyway, my Wally dog, I don't know why, he must have sensed that we didn't like her. Because she had this like tube in the wall where she'd put the papers on, publicity would go in. Anyway, my dog decides to lay one just in the tube. I was so proud.
But you've got on with the biggest shit eating.
I've got a picture if you want to see it.
Too much information. Okay, guys. Thank you guys all for coming along. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave some comments down below what you guys thought of the chat. Yeah. Some feedback on the Snowflake not visible round table down in the comments below, guys. Let us know. And take care, everyone. And I hope to catch you all very, very soon. Oh, and if you're not a subscriber to any of the YouTube channels, what are you doing? Make sure you subscribe to AllShorts, to Daily Blasé, and One Angry Pagan. All the links for them are in the description, guys. I shouldn't need to tell you this, but you already know that. But make sure you are. And also, do check out of all 12 different YouTube channels that AllShorts has, because he has 12 of them.
My God. I've only got 4 monetized now.
Yeah, so do subscribe to all 12 of these as well. If you go onto my Discord, there's a link for all of them there, if that helps as well. But
God, you're busy, Marcus.
Well, thank you guys all so much for watching, and I hope we catch you all very, very soon.
Good night.
Bye.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo, as he said.